7 minutes before I was supposed to pin a battalion chief badge onto my husband's uniform. He told me the woman in the first row would do it instead, and that I needed to smile when the cameras turned. Tori earned the right to be part of this, Caleb said. If you make it ugly now, everyone will remember what you did instead of what I accomplished. We were behind a blue curtain embroidered with the West Haven Fire Department seal. 200 people waited on the other side. Firefighters, city employees, families, 3 council members, and our adult children. My name was printed in the program beside badge presented by spouse, Jillian Ross. Caleb held a cue card that crossed out Jillian and replaced it with Captain Tori Maddox. I knew Tori as a paramedic captain from the neighboring county. She and Caleb served on a regional wildfire task force, taught joint safety workshops, and once sat at our kitchen table eating chili after a 14-hour training day. I did not know they had been sleeping together for 14 months. Caleb admitted that only after I asked why a colleague was taking a family role at the ceremony. He called it a relationship, then a connection, then something that became physical during last summer's deployment. Each new description arrived because the previous one had failed. I was 50, married to him for 27 years, and wearing the dark green dress he chose because he said it looked good beside the department's Navy uniform. Our daughter Nina, 24, sat in the second row. Our son Owen, 20, was helping the official photographer identify relatives. A framed certificate waited backstage. The brass badge rested in a velvet box between Caleb and me. Does Tori know I was supposed to pin it? I asked. She knows the program changed. Does she know I learned about you 7 minutes ago? He looked toward the curtain. This isn't the place for details. You made it the place when you replaced my name. Caleb lowered his voice. Tori was there after the warehouse collapse. She was there through rehab. She covered the task force when I couldn't lift my left arm. This promotion exists partly because of her. The collapse had happened 18 months earlier. A ceiling section came down during overhaul, injuring Caleb's shoulder and trapping another firefighter for 4 minutes. I sat beside his hospital bed, drove him to physical therapy, handled insurance calls, and learned how to button his uniform shirt when his left hand would not cooperate. Tori coordinated his return-to-duty plan. Both things could be true. Her professional help did not justify a secret relationship or turn my place in the ceremony into hers without warning. How long have you planned the change? We discussed it this week. Who is we? The ceremony team. Not me. Someone called the 5-minute warning. Caleb picked up the velvet box and pressed it into my hands. For one disorienting second, I thought he had changed his mind. Then he said, "Carry this to Tori when they announce the pinning. Hand it to her, take your seat, and let the moment happen. Nina and Owen do not need to find out in a room full of cameras." He had turned our children into the lock on the door. If I objected, I exposed them. If I complied, my silence looked like agreement. I put the box back on the table. I will not deliver the badge to her. Then sit down. And let you tell them this was my choice? No one is telling them anything today. The program tells them I was replaced. Caleb exhaled through his nose. He had spent 31 years in the fire service and believed calm was a form of command. At home, that calm had often been kindness. He made coffee before my early shifts, checked the furnace before winter, and called my mother every Sunday after my father died. I managed an orthopedic clinic, an ordinary job with no uniforms or ceremonies. Our marriage survived night shifts, missed holidays, 2 teenagers, his injury, and the year I helped Mom through cancer treatment. I was not backstage with a stranger. I was with the man who knew exactly which pressure would make me afraid to speak. Deputy Chief Renee Alvarez approached with a radio. "We need the Ross family at stage left." She saw the cue card. "Captain Maddox is presenting?" Caleb said yes. I said, "I was informed 3 minutes ago. I have not agreed to the change." Renee's expression tightened. "The honoree chooses the presenter, but I need one confirmed name. We are not announcing a dispute." "Use Chief Green," I said. Caleb turned. "That is not your decision. Then ask Tori after she knows I never stepped aside." Renee looked between us. "Captain Maddox told me Mrs. Ross requested the change for family reasons." The audience applauded the promotion before Caleb's. "Who told you that?" I asked. Captain Maddox forwarded an email to the ceremony inbox. Caleb said, "This is getting confused." I asked where Tori was. Renee pointed through a side opening. Tori sat alone in the front row in dress uniform, white ceremonial gloves folded in her lap. I stepped toward the opening. Caleb caught my forearm, not hard, but firmly enough to stop me. "Do not walk out there with that face," he said. I looked at his hand until he released me. Renee saw it and moved between us. "No one takes the stage until I confirm the presenter. Mr. Ross, stay here." Caleb was not yet a battalion chief. At that moment, Renee outranked him. I went through the opening and crouched beside Tori. She smiled nervously. "Jillian, I know this is strange. Caleb said you wanted to speak after. What did he tell you I requested?" Her smile disappeared. "That you wanted me to pin the badge because I was part of his recovery, and that you would join the family photograph afterward. He told me 7 minutes ago that you would replace me. He also told me about the affair 7 minutes ago." Tori went still. Unlike Caleb, she did not search for a softer noun. "He said you knew since winter. He said you were separated inside the house and waiting until Owen finished his first college year to make it public. Owen finished that year in May. It was now August. Caleb and I celebrated our anniversary in June with dinner and a weekend at Lake Geneva. Tori knew about the trip. Caleb called it a family obligation after Mom's treatment ended. She knew we shared a house and attended events together. She had accepted the version that let the affair continue. That remained her responsibility. But she had not known he planned to reveal the pinning change minutes before the ceremony. "Did you send an email saying I requested this?" Caleb drafted it. He said you did not want to discuss it with the department because it was emotional. I forwarded it. When? 6 weeks ago. The affair was the first betrayal. The timing changed its meaning. Caleb assigned my place to Tori 41 days earlier and kept my name in the printed program so I would not learn before the deadline. Tori opened the email chain. Caleb had written, "Jillian believes the pinning should reflect the people directly responsible for my return to duty. She prefers that Tori present the badge and that we keep the program unchanged to avoid questions before the ceremony. We have discussed this as a family." I read the last sentence twice. "We never discussed it." Tori looked at the stage. "I believed what I needed to believe. Will you pin it now?" She swallowed. "No." Her answer did not make us allies. It removed one false choice. Renee appeared and said the preceding family photographs were ending. We had less than 2 minutes. I told her neither Tori nor I would present the badge. Renee said Fire Chief Samuel Green could do it, which was standard when no family presenter participated. Caleb came through the curtain and heard, "Tori is presenting." Tori stood. "No, I'm not. You cannot back out because Jillian is upset. You told me she asked me to do it. She would have understood if we had time." "You had 41 days, I said. The announcer began reading Caleb's service history. Renee handed the box to Green and gave the stage manager a revised cue. Caleb stared at the badge. "Sit with the children," he told me. "Whatever happens after, do not take this from them. Your promotion is happening. My performance in it is not." Renee called his name. He walked into the applause while Tori and I remained in the aisle. The chair beside Nina stayed empty. Fire Chief Green read the citation while Caleb stood at attention. 31 years of service. Command during 2 apartment fires. Leadership after the spring floods. Development of a rescue protocol that shortened response times across 3 departments. The achievements were real, and the audience applauded them. That was the hardest part. I could not make Caleb only the man who betrayed me. The same person had pulled a child from a smoke-filled bedroom, trained younger firefighters, and lied to 2 women so he could control who pinned a badge to his coat. Green opened the velvet box. The announcer, reading Renee's new card, said, "The badge will be presented by Fire Chief Samuel Green." A murmur moved through the family section. Nina saw me beside Tori. Owen checked the printed program, then looked at his father. Green attached the badge, shook Caleb's hand, and stepped aside for the official photograph. The photographer waited for family members to join him. No one moved. I did not tell Nina or Owen to remain seated. They had received no warning, and I would not direct their reaction for the sake of mine. Caleb looked toward us and made a small motion with his hand. Owen took 1 step toward the stage, then stopped. Nina came into the aisle. "Mom, what is happening?" Cameras still pointed at the platform. I gave her the narrowest truth that explained my absence. "Your father told me before the ceremony that he has been involved with Tori. He changed the pinning roll without telling me. Tori is not pinning it now." Nina looked at Tori. "Is that true?" Tori said yes. Owen joined us. The stage manager called for the Ross family photograph. Caleb waited beneath the department seal. Nina said, "I'm leaving." Owen's eyes filled, but he shook his head. "I want to stay for the oath." His choice hurt and made sense. Caleb was his father, and the promotion was something Owen had watched him work toward for years. "You can stay," I said. "You do not have to choose a parent in this aisle." Nina asked how he could stand there. Owen answered, "Because both things happened." It was the most adult sentence any of us managed that afternoon. I told him to call when he wanted a ride. Nina and I moved toward the lobby. Tori remained in the aisle. Renee asked whether she needed an escort out. Tori said she would leave after returning the presenter materials. On stage, Green signaled for Caleb's portrait alone. The ceremony continued. No one seized his badge. No supervisor announced the affair. No crowd turned against him. The visible consequence was smaller. An empty family photograph, a changed presenter, and a man receiving the position he earned without the family image he tried to arrange around it. In the lobby, Nina asked how long the affair lasted. I said Caleb claimed 14 months. "And he told you today?" "Minutes before the pinning. He thought you would just sit there?" "He thought the timing would help." Nina wanted to confront him. I told her the auditorium remained full of other families celebrating their own promotions. "We are not taking their ceremony," I said. "Your father and I will deal with what he did after." She paced between display cases holding antique helmets. "He already took ours." I could not argue. My phone began filling with messages from relatives. Most asked why the chief pinned Caleb's badge. An aunt saw Tori and me speaking and guessed there was a conflict. I answered no one. The truth belonged first to Owen, Nina, and me, not to the fastest family group chat. Tori entered the lobby with Caleb's updated cue card folded in one hand. She said she was leaving. Nina asked if she loved him. "I thought I did," Tori said. "Did you know he was married?" "Yes." "Then do not make yourself another victim." Tori accepted that without defense. "I won't." She asked for no forgiveness and walked out. 20 minutes later, the ceremony ended. Owen came through the doors with Caleb several yards behind him. People stopped Caleb for handshakes, so he could not reach us immediately. Owen asked to ride with Nina and me. Caleb called his name. Owen turned. "I stayed for the oath. I'm not staying for the reception." Caleb's mouth tightened. "Your mother told you in the middle of my ceremony?" "They asked why I was leaving," I said. "I told them enough to understand. You could have waited 1 hour. You could have told me 41 days ago." Several people were close enough to hear. I lowered my voice and moved toward a side corridor. Caleb followed. Nina and Owen remained near the lobby doors. "You got what you wanted," he said. Tori backed out. "The family photograph is gone. Everyone is asking questions." I wanted the truth before being assigned a role. "I did not choose the questions created by your plan." He said Tori betrayed him by showing me the email. "She forwarded what you wrote. It was private. It used my name and claimed a family decision." He looked over my shoulder at the children. "Come to the reception. We sit together, cut the cake, and talk at home. Do not make the kids absorb every consequence today." The reception was in the Fire Academy courtyard. A banner congratulated the promoted officers. Tables held department cakes and family albums. Caleb still believed our presence could preserve the picture until he controlled the explanation. "Nina and I are leaving. Owen chose to come with us. You can attend your reception. We will not perform a celebration while we are learning what happened. You are punishing 31 years of work. The department promoted you. The chief pinned your badge. Your work was recognized. You are not entitled to use us as decoration around it." Caleb took a breath and changed tactics. He said the affair ended the previous week. Tori pushed for the pinning because she was tired of being hidden. He believed one public role would give her closure without forcing a full announcement. Afterward, he planned to begin counseling with me. You plan to repair our marriage after publicly replacing me? When you say it like that, nothing sounds reasonable. Then say it in a way that is true. He had no answer. Renee approached and asked whether everything was under control. Caleb said yes. I said, "We are leaving separately. There is no safety issue." Renee told Caleb the chief needed him at the reception in 5 minutes. Professional duty gave him somewhere to go when persuasion failed. Before leaving, he said, "Do not lock me out of my house." It was his first practical sentence. "I won't. Do not bring Tori there. Text before you come home." Nina drove because my hands were shaking. Owen sat in back. At the first traffic light, Nina asked where we were going. Our house did not feel emotionally safe, but it remained jointly ours. My sister lived an hour away, and a hotel would turn shock into expense without solving anything. We would go home, pack overnight bags, and stay with Mom for 2 nights. Caleb would be at the reception, which gave us time. I texted the plan and said nothing would leave except necessities. He replied, "Fine. We need to protect the pension and the house from emotional decisions." Even then, he framed shared assets as things threatened by my feelings. At home, the spare uniform coat he tried on that morning still hung from a dining chair back. Beside it sat a program proof with my name under the pinning line. He brought it home 3 days earlier and let me check the spelling. The changed cue card already existed. For 3 days, he watched me discuss where to stand while knowing the place was no longer mine. At Mom's house, I wrote down the timeline before exhaustion rearranged it. The affair began during wildfire deployment 14 months earlier. Tori forwarded the pinning email 6 weeks before the ceremony. Caleb let the public program keep my name. He confessed 7 minutes before the badge was presented. Nina sat across from me searching old calendars as if a date could make the betrayal finite. Owen stayed on the porch without speaking for almost an hour. I asked them both to stop investigating. They could decide what relationship they wanted with their father without collecting evidence for me. Nina said she did not know how to separate him from what he had done. "You do not have to do it tonight." Owen came inside and asked whether Caleb's injury started the affair. I said it might have changed something in him, but an injury did not send emails, book rooms, or keep secrets. Caleb was responsible for those choices. At 9, he asked to come to Mom's house. I said no. We agreed to meet the next morning at our home while the children stayed behind. Caleb arrived in jeans, carrying his uniform shirt. The small holes from the new badge were visible above the pocket. He placed the empty velvet box on the counter. The badge remained on his dress coat at the station. "The chief wants a private explanation," he said. "Renee documented the presenter dispute because she saw me grab your arm. You did grab it. I stopped you from walking into a live ceremony while we were arguing. You stopped me from speaking to the woman you assigned my role to." Caleb apologized for touching me, then said the department might interpret it more seriously if I described it without context. I told him I would state exactly what happened. He held my forearm, released it when I looked at his hand, and Renee stepped between us. No injury, threat, or invention. Accuracy offered him neither innocence nor catastrophe, and that seemed to frustrate him. I asked for the facts I needed: duration, other partners, health risk, shared spending, and whether he planned to leave. Tori was the only person, he said. Their physical relationship began during the deployment and continued until the week before the ceremony. They used hotels during training travel and met at her apartment. He charged 2 meals and 1 hotel night to our joint card because the merchants looked work-related. He told Tori he would separate after Owen finished his first college year. He had not retained a lawyer, searched for housing, or made a plan. You promised her a future and prepared nothing. I was waiting until I knew what I wanted. At the ceremony, you wanted both of us to cooperate. The pinning had been Tori's demand, he said. Caleb thought giving her 1 public role would prove he respected her without forcing a full announcement. He expected me to be angry but believed I would protect the ceremony and the children. I thought if we got through the day, the temperature would come down. He had used the event as pressure, expecting family, uniforms, and applause to compress my choices until compliance looked like calm. I told him I wanted an immediate separation and medical testing. We would use separate bedrooms until one of us found temporary housing. Neither of us would empty accounts, change locks, or move joint property. We would communicate about bills in writing. Caleb asked for 30 days before I consulted an attorney. I said no. Consulting someone did not decide the outcome. It kept ignorance from deciding for me. He called me clinical. You gave me 7 minutes to absorb 14 months. Practical is all I have right now. The department meeting did not destroy his career. Green and Renee asked about the backstage contact, the last-minute change, and possible misuse of workplace authority. Tori worked for another county and was not Caleb's subordinate. Their affair violated no specific relationship policy. The pinning email went through the ceremony inbox, but presenter choice was personal, not operational. Caleb received a written counseling note for the undisclosed conflict that disrupted the event and for the physical contact Renee observed. His promotion remained. He began the battalion chief role Monday. Tori's county reviewed whether she misused work travel. It found one personal hotel extension that she reimbursed. She stayed employed and left the Joint Task Force voluntarily. Relatives who wanted badges stripped and careers ended called those results weak. The institutions had addressed conduct inside their authority. Our marriage remained mine to address. A family law attorney explained that 27 years created a complicated financial partnership regardless of whose name was on each bill. Caleb's pension was partly marital, not a pot of cash I could seize. The house, retirement accounts, vehicles, and debts would need valuation if we divorced. Adultery did not automatically give me every asset. My doctor gave me a testing schedule and no dramatic speech. At the clinic, I told my director I needed several personal mornings and nothing more. The joint card showed $2,184 in hotel, meal, and fuel expenses connected to Tori. Caleb reimbursed the marital account after my attorney requested it. Tori sent one email containing the health timeline and original pinning chain. I confirmed receipt and did not continue the conversation. For the next 10 days, the shock arrived as administration. I copied tax returns, pension statements, mortgage records, and the last 18 months of card activity. I changed the password on my personal email but not the joint bank account. My attorney's temporary ground rules letter told both of us not to move money beyond ordinary bills, and I wanted the record to stay boring. Caleb followed it. He transferred his paycheck as usual, paid the mortgage, and sent receipts for the furnished apartment from his separate allowance. Every uneventful transaction felt strange after a ceremony built on surprise. At the clinic, I could read an insurance denial and solve a scheduling conflict, then lose the next 5 minutes because someone walked past in a navy jacket. My director moved one staff meeting without asking for details. Mom drove me to a laboratory appointment even though I was capable of driving myself. In the parking lot, she asked whether I wanted her to tell our relatives what Caleb had done. Not yet, I said. I need facts to stop becoming entertainment. She nodded, then asked the more useful question, "Do you have food in the house?" The official ceremony gallery arrived that Friday. The link showed Chief Green fastening Caleb's badge, Caleb taking the oath, Owen standing at the edge of the family section, and a formal portrait of Caleb alone beneath the department seal. There was no image of Tori holding the badge and no family photograph that could be used to imply approval. The photographer asked each promoted officer to approve the public selections and each family to flag photographs involving minor children. Ours were adults, but Caleb still emailed Nina and Owen directly before approving any image that showed them. They both declined, and he honored it. I approved nothing because no consent from me was required for Caleb's individual portrait. That small procedural clarity steadied me. The photograph belonged to his promotion. My refusal did not have to appear inside it to remain real. Later that evening, Caleb texted that a department colleague had asked whether we were separated. He wanted to know what answer we would give. I wrote, "We are living separately after you disclosed an affair and changed the ceremony without my agreement. Please do not describe this as a mutual decision." He replied that the wording was harsh. I said he could make it shorter without making it false. The next day he sent, "Jillian and I are separated. I caused it and we are handling it privately." I did not thank him for accuracy, but I noticed it. 3 weeks later, Caleb and I began counseling. He said the warehouse collapse made him afraid his useful life was ending. Tori met him inside that fear because she saw him as a commander before she saw him injured. I had seen every version, and in his mind that made my care feel ordinary. The counselor asked whether ordinary meant less valuable. Caleb said he had behaved as if it did. The admission was honest, but honesty after exposure did not reverse the choices. In the second session, he admitted choosing the ceremony date because he believed I would not leave in front of our children. In the third, he admitted he never expected Tori to refuse the pinning. "You counted on both women protecting your moment," I said. He nodded and did not call the sentence unfair. Caleb first asked me to arrange one family meeting so he could apologize to both children at once. I refused to make another room in which everyone had to react on his schedule. Nina and Owen could decide whether, when, and where to see him. He sent each of them a separate message that named the affair and the ceremony plan without asking for forgiveness. Nina did not answer for 6 weeks. Owen agreed to breakfast after 10 days and returned angry because Caleb spent half the meal explaining how the injury had changed him. He kept saying he wasn't himself, Owen told me. But he was himself when he wrote the email. I said he did not need to decide whether his father's fear was sincere. He only needed boundaries for the next conversation. Owen chose 3. No campaign for forgiveness, no questions about me, and no pressure to report what Nina felt. At their second breakfast, Caleb began to explain again, stopped himself, and asked Owen what the ceremony had been like from the aisle. Owen told him that staying for the oath had made him feel disloyal to me, and leaving the photograph had made him feel disloyal to Caleb. "You made every option mean something it shouldn't," he said. Caleb apologized without adding a reason. Owen did not forgive him on command, but he scheduled another breakfast. Nina's silence ended differently. She sent Caleb 5 questions in writing. When the affair began, what he told Tori about our marriage, why he kept my name in the program, whether he expected Nina to pose for the photograph, and whether he blamed me for leaving. Caleb answered each without euphemism and admitted that he expected both children to follow me only if I made a public scene. Nina agreed to walk with him in a busy park where she could leave without needing a ride. She came back an hour later, dropped her keys on Mom's counter, and said, "He apologized, and I'm still mad." I told her both could remain true. Their choices were not matching votes on Caleb's worth. Owen could keep contact, Nina could delay it, and neither decision would rewrite what happened to the other. By our 4th session, Caleb asked whether I could imagine rebuilding if he ended contact with Tori and gave me full transparency. He had left the task force, provided records, and moved into a furnished apartment. The visible conditions were improving. The central problem was not access to his phone. He had spent 6 weeks preparing a public ritual that made my objection socially expensive. "I don't know how to be your wife without wondering which decision you will announce after arranging the room." Caleb cried quietly and did not ask me to comfort him. That restraint mattered. It did not change my answer. Afterward, I stopped asking for new explanations and watched behavior. He paid shared bills, kept his apartment, and stopped asking the children about me. Accountability reduced the chaos. It did not make the marriage safe enough to return to. Without the ceremony clock, neither of us could hide behind urgency. For 6 weeks, Caleb and I met only at counseling or for scheduled house inventories. He gave notice before collecting tools, returned keys to spaces he no longer used, and directed questions about the children to me rather than through Nina or Owen. When the department invited families to a fall open house, he listed no spouse, attended alone, and answered relatives without blaming me. I noticed every improvement. I also noticed that none required me to live with him. The calm made the decision harder emotionally and clearer practically. I was not leaving because he refused all responsibility. I was leaving because responsibility arrived after he spent weeks engineering the moment when resistance would cost me most. I filed for divorce 4 months after the badge ceremony. Caleb followed every practical request and remained in counseling. He also admitted that, if the ceremony had gone according to plan, he would have used the photograph of Tori pinning his badge to force a later conversation with me, and used my front row presence to tell the department the family accepted it. That honesty confirmed the design I could not live inside. We told Nina and Owen together at our dining table. I said the marriage was ending, not their relationship with either parent. Caleb said the decision followed his affair and his attempt to manage the ceremony. He did not call it mutual, and I did not demand every detail. Owen asked whether we tried. Nina asked who would keep the house. Those questions belonged to different parts of grief. We answered the first and promised to work through the second. The divorce took 11 months. Caleb's pension required a specialist order. We sold the house because neither of us wanted to trade retirement security for a buyout large enough to keep it. The sale involved a roof credit, a delayed appraisal, and a buyer who wanted the old shed removed. I kept my car, Mom's furniture, and a fair share of retirement assets. Caleb kept his truck, service awards, and workshop contents. The velvet badge box belonged to the department, so he returned it. The official badge remained on his uniform because the promotion was valid. That stopped hurting sooner than I expected. His rank and my marriage had never been the same institution. The department could trust him to command a fire scene, while I no longer trusted him to arrange a family moment. Nina rebuilt contact slowly. She skipped the department's winter banquet but invited Caleb to lunch on his birthday. Owen began visiting his apartment on Sundays to watch football. Neither child served as a bridge between us. When Caleb asked a question through them, they redirected him to text me. He learned. Tori and Caleb did not build the future he described. He told me during mediation that they spoke twice after the ceremony and chose not to continue. I did not verify it. Whether they loved each other, resented each other, or tried again later did not affect the property spreadsheet or my next morning. Letting the question go was more useful than getting another answer. The story traveled through the department in fragments. Some people believed I should have pinned the badge and confronted Caleb privately. Others thought I showed restraint. A firefighter's spouse I barely knew sent a message saying she was sorry. I thanked her and asked her not to take sides at department events. I did not want every ceremony to become a referendum on mine. Caleb served competently as battalion chief. 6 months into the role, he coordinated an apartment evacuation with no serious injuries. The paper praised the response. Nina sent me the article and asked if it felt strange. It did. I was proud that no one died, relieved for the families, and still unwilling to be married to the man in the photograph. Emotional clarity did not make the emotions simple. I moved into a 2-bedroom condo near the clinic and Mom. The second room was meant for guests, though Nina filled half the closet within a month. I replaced the dining table we owned for 20 years with a round used one that fit beside the window. At first I ate standing at the counter because sitting alone felt like admitting something. Then Mom came on Tuesdays, Nina came when her shifts allowed, and Owen began stopping by with laundry despite having machines at school. The table became ordinary. That was what I wanted. 1 year after the promotion, Renee emailed because the department had changed its ceremony form. Presenters would now confirm their role directly rather than through the honoree, and printed programs would be locked 2 weeks before the event unless every named participant acknowledged the change. The policy was not named after us and applied to everyone. I appreciated the correction without mistaking it for compensation. Renee invited me to the next ceremony because one of Caleb's former trainees was being promoted. I declined. The day belonged to that firefighter's family. On the anniversary afternoon, I found the old program in a stack Mom had saved. My name still appeared beside badge presented by spouse. Mom asked whether to throw it away. I read the line once. The program was not evidence that I failed a duty. It showed what the audience reasonably expected before Caleb changed the terms in private. Mom reused blank paper for grocery lists, so I tore off the parking information page for her and put the rest in recycling. No ritual, fire, or speech. That evening, Owen called and said he had apologized to Caleb for not joining the family photograph. Dad said I didn't owe him that, Owen told me. He said he put me in a bad position. It was the sentence I wanted Caleb to understand from the beginning. How did that feel? Late, but good. Both can be true. A few weeks later, my clinic held a breakfast for long-serving staff. There were paper name cards, grocery store flowers, and a slideshow full of old hairstyles. My director handed each recipient a framed certificate and asked relatives to join afterward if we wanted photographs. Nina came before her afternoon shift, and Mom sat beside her. When my name was called, I walked to the front alone, accepted the frame, and returned to the table. Then I asked Nina and Mom to come outside with me for a picture in the courtyard because I wanted one. A coworker used my phone. The first photo caught Mom blinking, the second cut off my shoes, and the third was good enough. I saved all 3. No one needed the picture to prove my character or repair someone else's story. It recorded one ordinary morning I had chosen to share. Caleb saw it when Nina posted it and sent a simple congratulations. I replied, "Thank you. Our history required nothing more in that moment. I used to think the worst part of his ceremony was being replaced by another woman. It was not. The worst part was being told that love, family, and public timing had already decided my response. The badge was pinned. The promotion stood. The room did not collapse when I refused my assigned seat. What ended was Caleb's certainty that he could arrange everyone's position and explain the truth afterward. My last word that day was not a speech. It was the empty chair beside our daughter, the badge box I would not carry, and the decision to leave while his achievement remained his and my answer remained mine.